I've got a couple updates for the W12 swapped S8. I've got fuel injectors on order. I'm waiting for those to come in. They should be here probably sometime next week. Still the never-ending process of getting wiring wrapped up. This is going to be one of our fuel feed lines. It's a 3/4 inch tube. It's just some extra transmission cooler line that we had laying around, so we'll use that for the fuel. Get that connected up there. The valve cover gaskets were leaking just because, it's got a little bit of age on it. Pleasantly surprised that the car is very, very clean inside. There's no scoring or marks on the camshafts, and the color of everything's nice. Which means that they probably took good care of it in its previous ownership. So that's good. Get this covered up. So currently, where we're at, all the exhaust work is done up to the rear subframe. All of the intake work is completely done. The intake is somewhere around here. We're going to send out the exhaust manifolds. This is the passenger side manifold. We're going to send them out for either Cerakote or some other thermal coating to try to keep the engine bay temps down a little bit, and then also build some new heat shields for it, which we still haven't constructed the heat shields yet, so that'll still be part of the process. We do have all the EGT bungs welded in, so we're monitoring 12 EGTs. We're monitoring O2 sensors or oxygen content in the exhaust in banks of 3. So we're actually running 4 O2 sensors on the setup. And the CWA 400 water pump came in. So it's actually a BMW water pump. Well, this is a Pierberg, but it's a water pump from a BMW. That's going to be mounted down here in the passenger side bumper area. So that'll be that. We're using 1.5 inch feeds and returns for the charge cooling side. Where we left last weekend was actually transmission cooler lines. So we bought some 3/4 inch tube. We're bending that up. So it's got to come over the top of the subframe, over the top of the rack, and then we're using the S8's factory engine oil cooler as the transmission cooler. So on the S8, it actually has 2 engine oil cooler lines that come out where the filter is on the Bentley, and they connect up to this oil cooler. The Bentley has I don't know if we can see it here, it has an engine oil cooler in here, and it's powered by, or fed coolant from the cooling loop, where the S8 also has that. This is an S8 motor here. The S8 motor also has that, which is actually much bigger than the Bentley anyway. And in addition to this oil cooler, it also has those 2 lines for the side cooler. So we're actually going to have a little bit less cooling capacity for engine oil on this configuration than the S8 has from factory. We are still going to utilize the auxiliary radiator here, so I just have to run wiring and put logic into the max ECU for that. So we're going to use the factory tiny coolant pump and the shutoff valves and all that stuff. We just got to get the coolant lines wrapped up. And we're running a pretty complex cooling loop for the charge cooling for the turbo that I'll explain at a later date. So she's coming together. Once the transmission cooler lines are done, then we'll be able to finally start it. The wiring is a lot closer than it looks. It's just kind of apart because we have the valve cover off, so it's thrown up. But I have a bundle of connectors here. So it's just all of the factory Bentley, I don't know where they are. They're somewhere in this pile. So all the factory Bentley connectors, plus there's a 41-pin mil-spec connector that I'm using. So if we ever have to pull the engine, hopefully not, but if we ever have to, there's just a bundle of connectors right here. So we can just unhook that, flip them up, and then there's a main power and main ground over here that run down to the starter, the power for the starter, power for the alternator. Actually, that's a weird one. The starter power is actually run off this lug here, and then the alternator gets its own power source here. I just have it stuffed in the hole just so we don't keep getting it tangled up when we're dropping the subframe out. I have one of my engineering buddies. He's got a prototype for the flange here for the driver's side axle. So on the Audi, this flange or this bearing actually sits out farther. So I want to still utilize the factory S8 drive shaft. I don't want to have to make a custom axle to fit the Bentley transmission. So we actually have an extension piece that we're manufacturing to have that come out. So we can use the ZF8 HP90 in the S8 with the stock S8 axle configuration, so we don't have to do custom axles. We still need to figure out some type of way to get the strut tower brace back in, at least to tie these into the windshield, or that bracket under the windshield right here. So the factory brace ties the two strut towers into each other, and then it also ties this into that bracket there under the windshield. We have a turbo there, so we can't fit it. You'll just have to trust me. It's under there somewhere. I just don't feel like digging for it. So I'm going to send out the manifolds to get coated, the turbo housing to get coated for the compressor. The turbo housing on the exhaust is going to go get coated. And we're going to do something with the intake. I haven't decided what we're going to do with that just yet. Either that's going to get powder coated, or maybe we'll Cerakote that too, depending on the cost of that process. So I know it seems like the budget is unlimited on this, but it's not, I can promise you. So we are trying to figure out what we can do. We were pleasantly surprised that this brace still fit. That was a happy accident. It just clears everything. Just barely. Just barely clears everything. But since this doesn't move and this doesn't move, it should be fine. And then we're using the crash bar as a coolant reservoir for the charge cooling for the intercoolers built into the manifold, so that should be interesting. I did open up this area here. That's where we're going to run all the wires. We're going to probably have to open it up another 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch to get more stuff through, and then figure out what we're doing for a grommet. And then hopefully I can still bolt this assembly back in here for the air duct. There's going to be a few compromises. We still have to do heater core lines. That's not going to really stop the project or slow us down too much. We basically have to connect our fitting here and the fitting there to the heater core in some fashion. I was considering running the heater core through the turbo center section. On the Borg Warner, it has, I don't know if I have the camera in a way you can see it, it has 4 ports on it for coolant. There's 2 in the front and 2 in the back. So I thought about using the turbo as a pass-through for fittings for one of the heater core lines, just to keep the engine bay a little cleaner. But I'm not sure if that turbo center section will flow enough coolant to keep the heater core circuit happy. I'm not sure. I might not do that just because it's more complexity. But yeah, she's coming along. It's just been a slow process.